So just make sure you have a pencil, possibly an eraser if you need it, your watercolor paints, paintbrush, water, and a black pen, as well as a crayon or pastel. And the black pen's optional if you don't have a drawing pen or a Sharpie pen. This one's just an Amazon permanent marker, ultra fine point. But you could use a small paintbrush and black paint if that's what you have, or just a regular Sharpie pen. So we're going to start by doing our sketch first. So we'll actually start by drawing this water line. I drew it not quite up to half, but not quite. It's probably like a third up from the paper, this right here. And actually just find something to use that's a straight edge, such as this. So we'll just start by doing that line about a third of the way up. You could use your sketchbook, you could use a regular book, another piece of paper if it's thick enough. And there we go. So we have our water line, and then we can start sketching our bridge. So let's see, where did I start last time? I think I started with this, just like the main arch part that people drive on. Oh, hold on, take off my sweatshirt. So it's basically like an upside down smile or frown, but you just draw it from one end to the other, kind of starting like right above the water line and then just swooping it across the paper like so. It doesn't have to be a perfect line. And when we're looking at this, so the picture I was looking at, it's kind of like we're looking at it more from this side, so this side looks bigger. Like this part of the bridge looks wider, and these columns are taller and slightly bigger just because that's our perspective. It's almost like it's straight on, but it's slightly like we're looking at it from the left. So kind of making this one a little thicker over here. And then it gets pretty thin and just carries over. Okay, so that's that. And then we can start with our first set of columns. So as you can see, they are pretty slim at the top and then get thicker, almost like a cone shape at the bottom. So we can just do that, and we can draw it like right over this. It doesn't matter because we're gonna go over it anyway. So we're starting about in between these things is kind of our center line. So kind of pinpoint your center line and then start a little bit to the left of that. So just a little bit left of the center line. So do that, and then it gets thicker at the bottom, kind of like a candlestick or something. And let's see, there's two of them on each side. So like I said, it doesn't have to be a perfect sketch. I am going to make these taller up top because they're way taller above the bridge than below the bridge. So just bringing those up more actually, and then doing the second one. Pretty tall, and then we just stop at the water line. And there we go. So just a rough sketch. That's all we're doing for now. Well, just sketching for now. So then we can do the little crossbar. So I kind of just do X's to do those. So X, 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 X. And then we can do some sketches for these columns over here. So they just kind of are about equal space between each other until you just run out of room. And the same thing on this side. So there we go. And then I am going to hold off on sketching the cables. I'll do that later on. Mermaid cat, what did I get? What did you send me? Mermaid cat painter. Yep, that pretty much describes me. So if you guys didn't know, Jacksonville actually has 7 bridges, kind of like the city of bridges, which is pretty cool. So this is the Dames Point Bridge. It's just one of 7. And yeah, I think that's a pretty cool fact about Jacksonville. It just helps us cross the St. Johns River, which is a pretty big river. So next we're gonna go into the fun part, which is the watercolor. For this, bring my water over here. My paint on this one might look a little different than the one on this one because it is a different paint set, but it'll still be the same gist. Let's see, a little dirty. These paints, let's see. So just start with your red. Just use a little water to get the watercolor paint wet and get some red going. Don't use too much water and don't make it too thick because we want it to be able to dry for us to draw on it. So just start with a red all the way across. So this is actually also, this bridge is a cable bridge, meaning that these cable wires that you see are actually what holds the bridge up, which is kind of crazy. And when this was made, it was one of the only ones of its type, and it still is one of the few types of cable bridges that are in like the harp style or something, that's what it's called. So it's pretty unique. It's one of like few in the world, which I think is a pretty cool fact about something here in Jacksonville. So next we're gonna take our orange one of the only ones of, and just kind of start it on top of the red to blend it and carry that down as well. And then our yellow. And I'm actually going to carry this yellow further down. Realized I have more space than I thought. So I'm gonna use some of this golden yellow, and then I'm gonna use the other yellow beneath it. And I kind of continue it just a little bit below the water line just to help us blend. And I'm actually going to kind of go over this orange and red on top a little bit again, just to blend it through a little. Cool. So then we're gonna go in with our green. The green is kind of the start of the water, so I try not to take it above the water line. And then last but not least, some blue. Kind of blend it up into the green. It's just basically like a rainbow. And we can just use a little touch of purple just for the heck of it. Let's see, or some darker blue. Yeah. Pretty. I love this. Love painting the rainbow. So we'll just let that dry for a moment. It's pretty wet, so I don't want to start drawing on it quite yet. So just give it a chance to dry. So another cool fact about this bridge is that it's actually the most eastern one in Jacksonville. So it's the first bridge that ships see when they enter from the Atlantic into Jacksonville. So it's kind of iconic in a way because it's like the welcoming bridge. It's the first thing people see, so who are coming from the sea. So we're just waiting for this to dry a tad bit more. Let's see. Just about dry enough. So the next thing you will need is a pen, or you could use your crayon. I tried using a regular marker and that doesn't work too well on top of watercolors. So something a little bit more permanent than that. So we're going to use this to draw the bridge. So I'll start by doing the outline. Oops. Oh. So for this part, I might actually see, that's just going to be a lot coloring with a tiny pen, so I might actually paint it in with some paint. So if you want to do the same thing, you can. I'm just afraid I might run my pen out from this if I try to do it with a pen. So I'll use the paint. Okay. Where did my pen go? Oh, here it is. Okay. So then we'll just work on the parts that, while this is drawing, we'll work on these bottom columns. Not the straightest lines. I'm at a weird angle for these. Let's see. Okay, there we go. And then just fill them in, stopping at the water line. Okay, got those. And we will do this side. Feel free to use something for these straight lines if that helps you. My lines are not perfectly straight, but that's okay. But if you're a perfectionist and want your lines really straight, you could totally use like a ruler or whatever you have on hand. Okie dokie. Now we can work on our columns. So in the picture, this column right here, and then this column on this side as well are the ones that are like on the side of the bridge that we're looking at, so they're actually in front of it, and then the other one's going to be behind it. So we'll start with the one that's behind it. It's just gonna start from up here and then carry on down here to the water. Start just attach and then get thicker. Okay. And then we just fill this one in. Neat how yellow. Yeah, thanks. It is cool how it looks like it's reflecting. I think reflections can be really tricky, but they can also be made really simple. Like this one, I think it's a pretty simple version of it. It might not be like totally accurate, but and then for this one, it's actually going to be on the front side of the bridge. So do the same thing, but it's just going to overlap the bridge instead of hiding behind it. And it's also slightly shorter. And there we go. And then we can do our X marks, X, 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 and then we just fill them in. And there we have our first one. And then we can go in to do the second one, pretty much the exact same way, except this one is slightly shorter. I'm doing this from like a really weird angle. It's hard to do these straight lines. thicker at the bottom. And then the second one that overlaps the bridge. Okay, and then our two X's again. Yay! Cool. Liking this one. So next, I actually used, on this one, I actually used a colored pencil for the cables, but I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do them with the pen. So we'll start with this one. You basically just draw these diagonal lines from the top of this to the bottom until you run out of room. So start with this top one, and then just keep doing those kind of evenly spaced apart. Be sure you draw them good because they're what holds your bridge up. Okay, so there's those. And then the ones behind them, we do the same thing. But they're going the other way. So it's the exact same thing, but just on the other side. So we just go like this. All right. And then for this one, we do the same thing, but there's just going to be some overlapping. So you're starting here, and then you just kind of overlap. It's okay if they don't perfectly line up. They're just overlapping. And then do the same thing on the other side, just like we did, but just on the other, starting from the second column. So some overlap with the first set of cables. So then we're going to do the same thing for this one, starting at the top and coming down. And then on the other side of it, and then this one. Starting from the top, coming down. And this side of it too. So yeah, there we go. I always mess this part up. Me too. That's why it just looks like a bunch of crazy lines. But, you know, at least we're not like actually architects designing the bridge, so if we mess up, no one's life is at stake. Okay, so now we're gonna do the reflection. So grab your black crayon or pastel, and then we're just mirroring the top part of the bridge. So we start thick, like it's the bottom of the column, and it kind of make it like a little uneven, like it's on the water, since, you know, like with water ripples, it's not gonna look like perfect. I start a little darker at the top and then just taper off a little. And do the same thing over here. Just start thicker because it's like reflecting from the bottom, and then this is the top of the column where it gets skinny. So there's those. And then we'll do this side. And with these, just do them about the same length as the ones on top, as the ones that they're reflecting, so it'll get shorter and shorter. And then the same on this side. And then we will connect it all with the bridge shadow. So I'm just moving the crown back and forth really, and then drawing it along where it touches the other column lines, so these lines right here. So then I just kind of make it, do a little uneven texture to it since it's water. It's not going to look like perfect. So there we have it. Looks pretty cool, if I say so myself. Kind of some of these I just kind of go in and just darken them up a little. So there we go. This would be the perfect gift. You could send someone this as a postcard who doesn't live in Jacksonville, put a stamp on it, send it in the mail. It'd be really cool. You could write, if you want, you can write at the bottom what it is. So you can write Dames Point Bridge. And you could write Jacksonville, Florida. So everyone knows exactly what it is. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thanks for following along. Be sure to join us again on Thursday. Take care.